Hello, people. Today I want to talk about two things. One, this ongoing situation between Mikey Scars Dileonardo and Sammy Gravano. Yesterday, Sammy Gravano did a live, and during that live, he said that he will no longer comment on anybody attacking him or calling him out. The reality is, Sammy, you started this. Mikey Dileonardo has been doing shows, and during those shows, he has been telling things that's been going on within the family. Some of those things included you. You didn't like some of the things he said, so you called him out. And you said a lot of things that weren't true. You said that he was just a hang-around guy. We know that's a lie. You said that he was nothing to John Gotti Sr. We know that's a lie. You said that John Jr., he was up John Jr.'s ass, and that's the only reason John Jr. made him a captain. That's not the reason heads of families make people captains. And he called you out on several other things. His comeback toward you was really strong, Sammy. And now that I think that you realize you made a mistake, you're taking on someone that's smarter than you, quicker than you, and is able to deal with your lies. And Sammy, let's face it, you've had many lies in the time you've been on YouTube. All you got to do is go through your library of stuff, compare them to your 302s, and you can see how many stories have changed over a certain period of time. So with that being said, I can understand you not wanting to deal with Mikey Scars anymore because he beat you. He came back, gave you more intelligent answers than you had for him because your claims about him were totally unfounded and proven to be false. And I think at this point, you made a wise move. Your best bet is not to take on Mikey Scars. You said the smaller shows, but I have a funny feeling that Mikey Scars continues going on the path he's going. You're not going to be saying smaller show in a year or so. That's just my opinion. And a matter of fact, he had more people in his lives than you did your first one. Then you've had a lot of people in your last lives. And here's the reason why. A lot of people want to see what your answers are to Mikey Scars. So you guys are going back and forth. You're going to get a lot of people in your lives right now because of this little battle you're having. It's like Mikey Scars said. He says you should reconsider doing lives. And I agree with that because when you do live, Sammy, you cannot edit your video. They're out there. You know, you had people editing your videos and making you look really good in your edits. When you do lives, that changes. You're going to say things that are stupid. You're going to say things that aren't true. And you're going to say things that will cause you problems. And that's exactly what happened with Mikey Scars. You said things about him that right off the bat, anybody that understands this knows that it wasn't true. Anybody that understands the makeup of the Gambino family. And nobody would ever say Sammy Gravano was not a big guy in the family because he was. That's the reality. Sammy Gravano was a big guy in the family. He was an underboss. But when you said this guy was a hang-around, when you said Mikey Dileonardo was a hang-around, his answer to you was brilliant. He said, yeah, I was hanging around. I was hanging around the boss. I was hanging in back of him, next to him. You know, and then someone came up with a good quote, Sammy. They said that it's okay if you hung out in front of John Gotti because if someone had to take a bullet for him, maybe you could. You were in front of him quite a bit. You used to like to get in front of him. You used to like to hold his umbrella. You always wanted to go out there and get the attention, and you got it. You got it. And then when you turned and you flipped, you got it. And you continue to make up your lies. It's too bad that you're not going to keep speaking. I'd rather hear you keep speaking because none of us people that are in the public know anything about the stuff that you go on that you go on and talk about, or the stuff that you went through with Mikey Dileonardo. You and Mikey Dileonardo were very close. You said it yourself. And for you to say the things that you said about him seemed totally uncalled for. So we'll see where this goes, Sammy. Now you let people send you questions in if they're cash apps, not cash apps. If you're giving donations to your show, you decide to answer those questions. But you avoided some questions where there was money given to you. So that's kind of risky. You should answer the questions or not put them up on the screen, because you made sure that you put the one on the screen to show previous about Mikey Scars. And that's when you attacked Mikey Scars. So I think that you maybe want to reconsider doing how you're doing your lives. Personally, I think that you're not intelligent enough to do lives. And you're going to put yourself in corners because your temper gets the best of you. That's just who you are, Sammy. You're one of those guys where you have a temper and it gets the best of you. You're a killer. Sometimes you would do things without thinking it over. Okay, and I want to get on to another thing. There's a lot of stuff going on out there right now where people are listening to Mikey Dileonardo come out and talk about his regrets with the Gottis. He regrets that he ratted. The reality is this: there will never be a sit down between Mikey Dileonardo and John Gotti Jr. People, do you understand exactly what happened, what was said when Mikey Dileonardo flipped and decided to become a cooperating witness? Let me give you an idea. The Curtis Sliwa was an attempted assassination of Curtis Sliwa. And during that time, a lot of people suspected it was John Gotti or John Gotti Jr. John Gotti was in prison, so they figured Jr. carried it out. But that's one of the things that Mikey Scars came forward on. Mikey Scars said things like he regretted, he pointed out that Jr. was his closest friend in the mob. And he said what a true gangster John Jr. was. And that he was, at the trial, though, he talked about John Jr. Ordering an attack with baseball bats to beat up Curtis Sliwa. As we know, it got out of hand, and eventually he got shot in a cab. So he was placing Jr. squarely behind the Sliwa rub-out attempt. And sources said that Mikey Scars has told the feds that Jr. sent 3 guys there with the baseball bat. Then there was an allegations about machine guns, where he tried to place John running machine guns. So that's 2 very serious allegations. And one of them was an attempted murder charge on Curtis Sliwa from Jr. These are unforgettable things. You can't sit down and it goes beyond that. Let's remember who else he testified against. He testified against Peter Gotti. Peter Gotti died in prison. And a lot of that had to do with Mikey Dileonardo's testimony, amongst other people, but Mikey Dileonardo was one of the testifiers. Richard Gotti wound up doing some time. Not nearly as much as Peter, but he did. And he was testified once again by Michael Dileonardo. So you're talking that Michael Dileonardo testified against the men of the Gotti family. One was had a death sentence on him, or could have had a death sentence on him, and that was John Jr. That's kind of unforgivable, and you look at this, the gentleman in the middle there, his name's Kaplan. he was one of the guys that was implicated by Mikey Scars in the hit of Curtis Sliwa, or the attempted hit on Curtis Sliwa. And there's John Jr. So here's two friends next to Mikey Scars right there, and he flipped on them both. So you got to understand this, that the people that he testified against were all besides all the other testimonies that he did, were members of one family. And he says how much he loves John Jr. But how much did he really love him? He testified against him. He was willing to send him to prison for the rest of his life. Peter Gotti went to prison for the rest of his life and died in prison. And Dileonardo was considered John Gotti Jr.'s Achilles heel. That's how he was described by the prosecution. Unfortunately, he didn't do as much to John Jr. as he thought he was going to do, or as they thought he was going to do. Was he believable? Yes. But fortunately, John Jr. had good lawyers and fought off a lot of things that he said. But he literally tried to send this man away, people. Can you imagine that your uncle died in prison because of a man that is out here right now talking about you? Is that man supposed to, can you imagine if John Jr. said, okay, let's sit down. The hell with my Uncle Peter. He died in prison. Okay, Mikey. The hell that you sent my Richard Gotti, you testified against him. And most of all, he testified against Junior. He testified against Trucchio. He testified against Bisonia and many other people. I mean, we're talking 80 people here. Those aren't things that are just forgotten about. You just can't forget about them. And so you'll have these other content creators around here making ridiculous statements. Like, it's only a matter of time before Mikey Scars is sitting down and talking with Angel Gotti, or talking with John Gotti Jr., or the Gottis. A person can't do that much damage and betrayal to friends and ever be accepted back. Do I believe that Mikey Dileonardo has regrets? There's no doubt that he has regrets, people. But you have to remember, he was still willing to go there and testify against what he calls his best friend. So if your best friend did that to you, people, would you ever trust him again? Would you sit down and have a conversation with him? Could you look at the man that put your uncle away? And these are the things that you have to think about before you let other content makers, before you believe these other content makers. I mean, you got content makers out there that make a living off attacking the Gotti family. That's literally what they do. They attack the Gotti family. They attack the kids. They attack the mother. They attack the father. They attack the John Jr. They attack the sisters. They say horrible things. And then they're the people that are saying, oh, they're going to sit down and meet. Ain't happening, people. I can guarantee you that. I'm not part of that family. But it's not going to happen. John Jr. stays out of this mess that we have here on YouTube. You don't see him involved in this. He's not even thinking about being involved in this insanity. I often wonder if he hears the horrible things that certain people say about his family, his mother, his sisters. I often wonder that, because the things that these people say are cowardly remarks that are done from behind a mic and a screen, and they do it just about every day. And you got to sit there and listen to it. Sometimes you're like, wow, I cannot believe these people are saying this stuff. But this is what it is. It's easy to be brave when you know there's no consequences like there used to be. So, in closing, I can say this. One, there will be no meeting between Mikey Dileonardo and John Gotti Jr. or any members of the Gotti family. If Angel said that she was glad that he came out and said the things he said, that doesn't mean that she forgives him. That's ridiculous. There's no forgiveness. None. She had to suffer through when her family was being in court and sit in the court and see this man who was a friend of theirs, loved by the family, loved by John Gotti Jr. Sr., turn on the family. So that's not going to happen. So don't listen to these other people. They're just talking out their behinds. And as for Sammy Gravano, don't attack people in your lives. You're not good at it. You know, you're clever behind the scenes. You're clever behind people's backs. You're not clever to their faces. That's the history of you, Sammy Gravano. So my advice to you is not to take people on face to face where they can counter what you say and you can't erase it because it's alive. You know, and this is the thing. These are the chances you take when you do lives. And I do agree with Michael Dileonardo that you should really not be doing lives. But, you know, you're a big boy. You have your own show. You know what you're doing. That's just this podcaster's opinion. That's all it is, which my opinions mean nothing to anybody but me. Okay, people. Besides that, I just wanted to throw that stuff out there. You tell me what you think right underneath here, what you think. And if you agree with me, and if you don't agree with me, still write and tell me. Call me names if you want, as long as you're doing it in a respectful way. With that, I'd just like to say, please like this video. That's very important to like my videos, please. And if you want to donate, you can donate to my video. Feel free to do that. If you don't, no problem. Besides that, have a nice day, people. I'm glad I was able to do this video today. And I hope that you enjoy it. Take care.